Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn and
Bill Carroll. And it's always a pleasure. You may or may not know me from Consistent Draft Services. We do Feeling a Draft with this amazing gentleman. Of course, Jim Coburn, my co-host. And then also we present you with CDS Pro Prospect Radios, which is mostly interview-based.
Right. And of course, this is the Shrine Game. We're talking about the Shrine Game today, and we're going to be talking about the West practices. Of course, the previous video to this, we talked about the East practices. If you have not seen that video, I suggest you check it out so you get the general, the general stuff. Like we added some things in there that you're not going to get here, so go check that video as well. But now we're focusing in on the West practices. So we're going to go through all the positions, our general thoughts and feelings about how they performed, and then a couple other things too towards the end. So in terms of the West practices, in terms of, let's start with the coaching staff in particular. Let's start there. The East practices were very laissez-faire, kind of lax.
Genteel, yes.
Right. If you were to describe them as an animal, you would say they were kind of like a cat, a little bit. They might get a little dangerous, scratch up something, kill a rat occasionally, but a lot of just chilling and stretching out and and that kind of thing. The West practices, just in terms of the coaching staffs, the intensity, they were trying to get stuff done. Every single day, like every single day, pretty much. In fact, the first practice I went to at the West practice, they actually went 20 minutes over in that practice just to get all their stuff done. So they actually went beyond the time period just to get all the stuff done that they wanted to get done at that practice. But what were your impressions of the West side, of course, which is the best side? Yeah.
The coaching staff was more intense, more hands-on. I saw tempo. People moved more quickly from drill to drill. I think that in general, it was the more talented roster also. And the last sort of impression would be just the level of competitive banter, and guys got into each other a little bit.
Right.
It wasn't like it was fights necessarily, but there are definitely some guys who made their opinions known, got into it with the refs even a little bit. They had refs at 2 of the practices to try to get me used to that, and like I said, I just saw it was much sharper in every way.
Okay. Starting with the offensive line group, which there was a lot of interesting guys there. At least for me, Zach Crabtree was the main guy in terms of just offensive line that was there. The first day in particular, Zach Crabtree, very impressive guy. Looks the part, of course, of an NFL offensive tackle. Plays the part, really smart, very intelligent. Knows where he needs to be. Didn't make any mistakes, and even the offensive line coach himself looked at him and said, "You've been doing this a while, haven't you?" At one point, because he could almost do no wrong. That first day. Jake Bennett, of course, from Colorado State, was the center that was there. They also had Jacob Onisorge, I think, from South Dakota State, who was the other center. Coleman Shelton from Washington, another guy that I'm very familiar with as well. Dijon Allen from Hawaii was there as well, who's another guy that I suggest you should check out. The Michigan game, not last year, but the year before, that Michigan game, he took on Chris Wormley, Taco Charlton, both guys that a lot of people consider to be NFL guys, but Taco Charlton in particular was a late first-round pick, and he pretty much shut them down. Pretty much shut them down. So definitely got to check. And not only that, he shut them down being around 6'3", 290-ish. So he shut down a 6'6", a big dude, and with limitations, obviously, because he is more built like a guard, but definitely very impressive. Cody O'Connell from Washington State, probably, he's a character, man. He's a character. He is, I don't know how best to explain him per se, but he's like this big, tall dude, kind of, he's got some extra pounds in there as well, and kind of talks like Beast from X-Men almost, like just kind of like a scholarly
Yes.
kind of quips
Very
here and
bright
there.
guy, yeah.
Right. But he definitely was interesting. There was a couple things here, and we'll talk about some of those things. Of course, they have Jacob Alsadek from Arizona. They had Salezi, and I'm always is it Iatafi?
Uatafe, yeah.
Okay.
Uatafe, yeah.
From Utah. They also had Mark Cordy from Alberta, and Greg Sinnett from Wagner, and Brett Toth from Army. In terms of the offensive line group that you saw.
Sort of like what I said with Darius Fountain, where there's this guy and there's some separation, everybody else. I think that's what it was with Crabtree. Crabtree's a guy who I think could go D2. I think he may not, but he
should.
He should. Right.
He should.
He should.
In this class.
In this class, right.
Yeah.
In this class where tackles are hard to find, it would shock me. Well, not shock me, no. Nothing shocks me anymore, really. It would disappoint me, is what it would. I wouldn't be shocked. I would be disappointed but not shocked if he goes, 4th, 5th. He deserves to go maybe as early as the 2nd, but the 3rd, I feel like you're getting great value on the 3rd with Crabtree. He has enough strength, moves well, clearly well coached, seems to understand, once again, angles and leverage better than most.
Yeah.
And takes coaching. When there wasn't much to work on, but when they told him to do something, he did it.
Right.
Allen is interesting, but he got hurt.
Yeah. You weren't. I mean, he looked much more impressive in the day 1 and day 2 practices.
Right.
Yeah.
So I talked to him a little bit. He hadn't had X-rays yet, which surprised me.
No, he hasn't.
So he said he doesn't know if it's broken or not. So I was like, oh, okay. I assumed that they would get him to X-rays almost as soon as he got hurt. Right. So I don't know the exact status of his hand, but on tape I've liked him. Moves well. He's a center you can pull. That's one of the things that people love about Maurice Pouncey. He can do that. Yeah, if you want a running game where you're pulling your center, this is a guy for you. He's a guy who would have played for the old Denver Broncos, where everybody was 288 to 295 pounds, and they all could run and cut the living daylights out of you. That he could. Nobody plays like that anymore, obviously.
Right.
But they're still zone blocking teams, and he would flourish in that kind of situation. Toth is a guy that I think people are interested in. He is raw for lots of reasons. He's coming from a flex bone based offense. So he's done some things, but not things that look like the things he's about to be asked to do. He has also a military commitment. So we'll see what happens with that. But I know there are teams that like him because I could see teams talking about him, and they were happy. They're happy with certain things. Like they like certain things about him. And once again, obviously character. You kind of already know. Yeah. You're going to be okay on the character side with him. You mentioned Uatafe.
Yep.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Sort of almost without, saying. And if you want to mention this, in the celebration contest.
At the end of practice, they had a celebration contest where they basically broke up into 2 groups on offense and defense. The defensive guys also had celebrations as well. I think, what was the first? Yeah. The first...
There was 3 of them. They were the middle one, I believe.
Right.
But they were the winner. They were the best of them.
Right.
So there was one rather uninspired attempt where it was just like So there was the punch-out one.
Oh, yeah. They had the punch-out one where they basically lined everybody up, and then one guy punched them, and then they did another one fell down, and another one fell down, and then at the very end, I guess he pulled out his belt and started, switch. Yeah.
And it's like...
Some people were fans of that, though. Some people were fans of that.
Right, that was probably the second best of them.
Right.
There was the defensive guys who, not terribly, deep thinkers, but decided to just do the run to the bus.
Right, just run to the bus. Yeah. And they really did run all the way to the bus. They sold that. Yes. Very much so. They executed that.
That was the best part of it, was their commitment to it.
Yes. They actually have video. I'm actually going to add the video of that.
Yeah. And when they came back, they were like, that. They didn't realize. I guess they didn't realize how long a run it was. They're like,
man, we're tired.
Right. That was a long run.
We have to run all the way back here.
Right. But the winners, I will say captained maybe, or whatever term you want to use,
right?
By Salesi was it was sort of like a strip club scene.
Yes.
And we got to see the sensuous stylings.
Yes.
Of Mr.
Exactly.
Mr. Uatafe.
Yeah.
And
taking off his helmet, taking off his jersey.
Right.
And he's got the hair.
He's got the hair.
He's got the hair for it.
Right. So he took off his helmet, took off his jersey, shook this resplendent mane of hair. And then hooked his leg around the goalpost.
Exactly.
Did a spin.
Giving everybody a show.
Yep. And offensive linemen are kind of known as dull.
Right.
But it's good to see that this is clearly a guy with a personality.
Very
Stock
much so.
up.
Yep.
So
exactly.
And also, he held his own.
Yeah.
He held his own. He's a guy that could probably play right tackle in a desperate emergency, which happens, actually, in the NFL. There was a team in the playoffs, I can't remember which one it was, that was down to 2 tackles.
Yes.
They were down to the last 2 tackles. They had one starter and one backup tackle left. If something else happened, it was going to be a guard or center or somebody who was going to play tackle for them. This happens in the NFL. So the fact that he can play tackle in a desperate emergency gives him value. I think he's going to play guard mostly in the NFL. But this is a good year for guys who...
Interior.
Right. Good year for... Right. And even some guys who were tackles will in this class will end up playing guard. But yeah, I liked him a little bit. O'Connell's interesting, as you said. Very smart. A 3-time academic All-American, I think.
Yeah.
A 1-time or maybe 2-time second team All Pac-12 also. He is the tallest guard ever. I've been around football a long time. I've never remember seeing a 6'8" and shade play guard.
Yeah.
Never.
And unfortunately, I don't want to do this, but he doesn't move very well for a guy that size.
Or any size.
Or even a guard. And the biggest concern to me, and this was the big thing he had during practice, I mean the day 1 and day 2 practice in particular, I've seen him, he just had a lot of issues getting leverage, a lot of issues just being able to kind of go, move, well, not getting stuck, a little stiffish, obviously, because he's so tall. He's 6'9", like he's every bit of that.
Yes.
And that was just the only sort of concerns I had about watching him during practice was just this guy is so tall. Like he's a guy that you would put at tackle, but you don't put him at tackle obviously because he doesn't have the feet for it. So you have to put him at guard, and you're not going to put him at center. I mean, like you're not going to do that.
Now we have a world record on our hands, certainly, if we didn't already have it.
Exactly.
I mean, here's the nightmare scenario. There's a blitz or a twist or something, and here comes James Harrison. Right? How do I even get down that far so I can touch him before he runs between my legs, basically? Everything that can be an advantage could also be a disadvantage. And people love height. And once again, it gives you this ability to basically block down into people. And so if a guy's 6'6", and especially if he's not super quick, he's probably going to be able to do some things.
Right.
But if somebody gets to his edge, he has tremendous trouble. And here's the real nightmare scenario: a guy who can counter back to the inside, he's done. He can't change direction.
And that happened during practice too, a lot.
He just can't change direction. So I don't know what kind of NFL future he's going to have. But luckily, he's an extremely bright man.
Yep.
So he's going to be okay.
Yeah. I mean, he should be okay. Then we get into the quarterback group. We had 3 guys that played quarterback. We had Jeremiah Briscoe from Sam Houston State, Nick Shimonek from Texas Tech, and Nick Stevens from Colorado State. Nick Shimonek showed me some things here and there. Jeremiah Briscoe had some good throws. He made a couple good. I mean, I think practice 2 in particular, we're like, wow, that was a pretty good NFL throw right there. That's probably the only one we're gonna see today. Like that was our general thoughts from the first day. That was kind of the quips on that day. And then of course Nick Stevens was Nick Stevens in terms of what he brought to the table. In terms of the quarterback group that was here, it wasn't quite. I mean, I like the East group a little bit more, and some of that was because of the JT Barrett factor. But even guys like Riley Ferguson kind of showed similar things to like what a lot of these guys showed, and the same thing goes with Quentin Flowers too.
Yep.
There wasn't like these 3 were just not so much better than Flowers in that you could just put them over them. But what were your general thoughts on the quarterback group with the West?
Well, sort of like the sort of damning with faint praise or praising with faint damn or whatever. Shimonek was clearly the class of the group. The ball usually came out on time. There are a few times when it didn't, but usually came out on time. Mm-hmm. As long as it is short, intermediate, and particularly inside the numbers, he can get good zip on it. The further down the field and the farther outside the numbers you get with him, the more you do not like him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
If you're a big fan of like deep fade patterns, you're not gonna like Nick Shimonek. No. But he's a guy who processes information quickly, good decision maker, fairly mentally and physically tough, a little bit better athlete than you might have guessed that he was. Yeah, he moves around reasonably well. But once again, a guy whose best case scenario is fighting for that second, third quarterback spot somewhere, particularly in a West. Once again, broken record, but West Coast offense.
Right.
Nick Stevens is kind of the same guy, but less of everything.
Right.
And once again, I'm a Nick Stevens fan, but I can say very clearly that he's a guy who, best case scenario, is a second, third quarterback.
Right.
And very fewer teams are keeping a third quarterback.
Right.
He also really struggles to get the ball there the further you get from him. Mm-hmm. And his placement was not quite as good as Shimonek's, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. And Briscoe is a guy who I think maybe has the most untapped potential.
Right, there's some mystery to him.
Right.
There's
he has the
most
untapped potential of the group.
Yeah.
But I don't know if a team's going to invest the time and energy to tap it because he's not special enough that you feel
all that investment.
Right, that you feel like the payoff's going to
the cost and what you get at the end of the
exactly is going to justify it.
Yeah.
But super productive kid. If you've checked out what he did at Sam Houston State, he's a guy who moves reasonably well, can make some pretty throws down the field. Didn't do a lot of it, though, as you just pointed out, especially this week.
Yeah.
But on tape, you see him throwing 9 routes deep down the field. And they do that a lot at Sam Houston State.
Yes.
They're kind of like mini Baylor, basically. So the things that you like about Baylor quarterbacks, you're going to like about Jeremiah Briscoe. But they also don't do a lot of things that you're going to have to do at the NFL level.
No.
He's never had to read the middle of the field. They don't do that. They don't bother with it. The only time they throw the ball to the middle of the field is when they've made you overreact to the outside, so now it's wide open.
Right.
So he's never had to deal with a quote-unquote muddy read in the middle of the field, and so it's all new to him. So he would need, I'll be honest, I think Canada is probably the best route for him, and if he goes up there and begins to tear it up and learn some things, and somebody says, hey, man, this Briscoe kid up there with the Rough Riders or wherever it is, we got to take a look at him, is probably his best path if he wants to hang around the NFL, in my opinion.
Right. All right. Shifting to the running back group, and I really liked this group of running backs. Of course, Jordan Chun.
So we were talking about how the backs,
with
the east side, they were all sort of frosted mini backs.
Right.
Well, here we've got 2 of the same deal, and then Jordan Chun, who stands there looking like he's taking his sons to work. So you've got Lindsey, who's like 5'8" and change at 191 pounds or something.
Yeah.
And
pocket Justin Fargas.
Right,
pocket Justin Fargas.
Right,
yeah.
Pocket Justin Fargas.
Yeah.
Then you've got this only larger by comparison, but slightly larger Justin Jackson, who is the guy who's just big enough that NFL teams aren't super nervous about his size, but not quite big enough that you see him as a full-time running back. But caught the ball extremely well.
Very well.
Speaking of the West roster, he may have the best hands, period, on the West roster. He's certainly in the discussion.
Yeah.
And understands route running, has some knowledge of blitz pickup. Is it an area where he could grow? Yes, but understands the idea of blitz pickup, has clearly been taught what's at least the rudiments of blitz pickup. Tough kid, smart kid. Once again, self-aware.
Right.
When I asked what asked him what he thought he'd run his pro day, he said mid to low 4.5s. Nailed it. He didn't say I'm going to run 4.4 or whatever. He's a guy who actually has a pretty honest assessment of himself, which I value. Once again, hard worker. I mean, he's going to be on special teams and do well on special teams. He'll hang around. He'll have a spot in the league somewhere for a while.
Yeah. And then, of course, Philip Lindsay, who as I say, pocket Justin Fargas. He's not as big as Justin Fargas. He's not as explosive as Justin Fargas, nor is he as fast as Justin Fargas. But if you were to take a miniature version, a mini-me of Justin Fargas, there's a lot of similarities between the two in terms of, very tough, very, intense.
Yeah.
Small guy, but has bite to him.
Yeah.
A lot of bite to him. And he did show that in practice as well. A little bit of, John back and forth with different guys.
He's feisty, yeah.
Very feisty guy.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on, Lindsay?
Some of the things he does best, he probably won't even get a chance to do at the NFL level,
right?
Because they won't believe he can do it. They won't trust it. They won't trust it. He actually is a really good interior runner. He's probably the best interior runner of the group, but they're not going to let him do it at the next level. Probably. Right. I'll be shocked if they let him do it. Right. He catches the ball reasonably well, not quite as well as Justin Jackson, but reasonably well. He right now is a guy that sort of needs to see the ball coming.
True.
I saw Justin Jackson make some catches where the ball was coming over his shoulder, which is really hard for most college running backs. Most people, right?
Normal,
right. But
non-football players even.
Right, and even I've seen some wide receivers who struggle with it. They have a tendency to try to turn to face.
Right.
Which gives the defensive back a chance to get back into the play.
Exactly.
That's why we should stop doing that. But Justin Jackson, like I said, catches the ball, very, very well. Yes. Lindsay catches the ball well. Not quite the same level. But.
Yeah, not at the same level, obviously. I mean, I would definitely agree with that.
Quickness, yes. Speed.
Quickness, yeah.
Probably not a blazer, but quickness. Like I said, the best thing about him is toughness, probably.
Toughness.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Best thing about him. And he'll, once again, be a special teams guy.
Right.
Chun's more of a question. Because unless he tests super well, people are going to start talking fullback. Which is what people do with big backs nowadays.
Yeah, you might end up on the Carolina Panthers. They might try to make a Mike Tolbert out of him, kind of.
Right.
Or
49ers. I mean, the teams that carry fullbacks, Packers, Ravens, the handful of teams that carry fullbacks might start to talk to him about blocking.
Right. So then we get in the tight end group. Now, I will say this: Blake Mack from Arkansas State.
He can run.
Was the one guy he can run. As a blocker, he's not amazing, but he is willing.
Yep.
The first couple of days of practice, what I really liked about him as a blocker is he has a very good punch, pretty good hand placement, and at least has an idea of what he needs to do.
Runs his
feet. He doesn't always execute the block. He doesn't always, get as much leverage as he needs to get. He's not always powerful enough even. To get a block done, but he is going to give you that initial pop. He is going to get you that initial thing, so that he has the opportunity to help things out. And he is undersized. I mean, he's not. This is a pocket tight end, as I like to call them. They're the types of tight ends that NFL teams don't know what to do with because they're not big enough to be in line. Like, you're not going to put a 6'2", 6'3", 230-pound guy to block for your quarterback against a Von Miller, against that type of guy. You're going to want to put a more inline guy, a guy that has some length to him, has some size to him, who's almost basically like an undersized tackle. You feel more comfortable with that than this 6'3", 230-pound guy and telling him to deal with the Von Miller and stuff like that. And that's the issue that teams have with these guys, is that they're really only going to be used as slot wide receivers, kind of inside wide receivers, that kind of, or flat guys. And they would honestly rather just use a slot receiver than to use that guy because of the reason. But out of the tight ends here, to me, he was the one who flashed the most. He's the one who made the most plays. The other guys, David Wells from San Diego State. And with me, I wasn't really feeling him as much. And of course, they had Andrew Vollert from Weber State. Didn't really stick out too much to me.
He made a couple of decent catches. He's not afraid to go to the ground.
Right.
He's a guy that's got long arms, big hands, good size catch radius. Gives effort as a blocker, but he's not to be that much bigger than Mac. He's not that much better as a blocker.
Right.
Not so much better that you can bring him in as a blocking tight end.
Right. Exactly. So moving into the wide receiver group. And there's a lot of honestly, there's some favorites here I mean, at least maybe one, because me and you have been talking about Devontae Boyd for a while.
3 years.
Yeah, for 3 years.
Yeah.
From his freshman season. Well, pretty much his
Really,
freshman season.
yeah, really good concentration.
Really
It was
good
an all
concentration.
it was an all freshman conference
Yeah.
in his conference.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's been consistent and steady ever since.
Yeah. Of course, he was here. Bryce Bobo from Colorado, and he's lost some weight, guys, because when I saw him at the beginning of the year this year, he was carrying
A couple extra.
a little extra pounds, so he's dropped down in weight and come in here, so he looked pretty much the part. Of course, they also had Jake. Is it Winky?
Yes, Jake
Right,
Wickey. Yeah.
right. Winky from South Dakota
I
State.
mean, Weineke. Sorry, Weineke.
Weineke. Yeah,
sorry.
Weineke. Yeah.
Yeah, wait, Weineke.
Weineke.
Right.
Yeah. And then, of course, they have Jeff Badett.
Yeah.
Or Badett. Yeah,
Badett.
from
Yes.
Oklahoma / Kentucky, because he was at Kentucky for a little bit, then he went to Oklahoma. And then, of course, you have Stephen Dunbar from Houston. And Jordan Thomas from Mississippi State is listed as wide receiver, but he's really a tight end just because of size-wise. What I'll say about the group, I did like Boyd. I did like what I saw out of him. Weineke, to me, he has the size sort of stuff, but I didn't like him just kind of going through the motions at times in terms of as a route runner, in terms of just, general stuff. It's just kind of going through the motions. Jeff Badett, he was a guy that he was doing the prerequisite slot wide receivers things you want them to do. Was there anything really particularly special about him? No. Could he do the prerequisite slot receiver type things? Yes. He could definitely do that. And as far as Jordan Thomas, the giant guy he is, how do I explain? He's got the size. I mean, he's got the things that you're looking for. Giant hands, obviously. 11-inch. Big hands, big all that. Basically checks all the physical measurables. Doesn't, in terms of, so doesn't really know how to use his size. Got bullied a bit by
Dane Cruikshank or
by guys that are like. He has like 70 pounds on these people, and got bullied a bit by them as well. And Bryce Bobo was really inconsistent. The first couple days of practices, he was running routes pretty well, decently, but wasn't finishing. Wasn't getting the catch. Basically wasn't getting the catch. So what are your thoughts on the wide receiver group at the West practices?
Yeah, well, I do wonder why they have Thomas even listed as a wide receiver.
Right.
I mean, not only is he possibly a tight end, he's entirely if he can put on enough weight, he might be a tackle.
yeah.
I'm not even kidding when I say that. Right. I saw him do one cone drill, and even if he were a tackle, it wouldn't have been that impressive.
Right.
It was definitely the least impressive cone drill I've ever seen a wide receiver do. Mm-hmm. Ever. Villanueva, who is now a tackle, had better change of direction.
Yes.
His change of direction, it might be the worst change of direction I've ever seen from someone who played a position where you were eligible to catch a pass without reporting. Tight end or wide receiver.
Right.
His feet and change of direction, just astonishingly not what you want. It's very slow in and out of breaks. Yes. I mean, the term break almost doesn't sound right because it's almost... It's not like he's rounding things off, it's that he can't
Molasses.
not... Right. Yes, exactly. So, when the one thing he has is soft hands.
Yes, he does have soft hands.
He has soft hands.
I'll say that, yeah.
So, if you throw a ball up to him...
In his general area,
right,
he can get it.
Pretty likely to catch it.
Yeah.
But he can't get down
do anything with it.
Right, he can't do anything with it.
He's not going to break tackles. Nope. He's not going to outrun anybody.
No.
He's just going to walk a little bit and then go down, pretty much.
Yes. And maybe if he stretches out, just the size alone will get you a couple yards.
Right.
But yes, he is not able to really run routes the way that they're designed to be run, at least. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what the future holds for him. But his sheer mass may give him a chance.
May get him drafted.
Or may give him a chance to even play tackle, or at least tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond Mac, the only other one of the tight ends that could show me anything was actually Villette. I saw him make a couple of catches outside the frame of his body. He gave okay effort as a blocker, but I was expecting or hoping to see more. Wells should have been a decent blocker, but I wasn't impressed by him in the blocking drills either. I mean, he's from San Diego State where they run the ball. I mean, maybe it was just a bad week for him or something, but I thought I'd see more from him, at least in the blocking. So, yeah, Mack is the one that you think has the best chance to do things as a receiver. And since they didn't have Jordan Thomas with the tight ends, I can't judge him as a blocker. They didn't ask him to block.
Right.
It would have been interesting to see.
Right.
And then ditto with you on Devontae. Getting back to Devontae Boyd. Ditto with you on Devontae Boyd. I think he'll be somebody's fourth receiver for a while. He's like a poor man's Keenan McCardell. Really good hands. Good, not exceptional, but good quickness. Probably will run in the high 4.5s, which is fine for what he is. Maybe a little faster. But my guess is the over-run is around 4.56.
Right. Okay. Well, getting into the DBs, I'll save the cornerbacks for last with this one. Okay. Starting with the safeties that were there. The safeties. So, of course, you have Godwin, from Northwestern. Natrell, Jamerson from Wisconsin. Ofolabi Laguda, I think, from Colorado.
Yeah, Laguda. Yes.
Right.
Laguda, yes.
Yeah, Cole Reyes from North Dakota. Checky Williams from Louisville.
Yep.
I mean, there was a couple that, made a couple plays here and there. Jamerson from Wisconsin did a couple things. Godwin did a couple things. The one guy that was almost invisible to me was the Colorado safety. And
did Cedric Cooper get hurt? Or was he just not super...
I just didn't notice him.
Okay.
So, and of course, Cedric Cooper from Louisiana Tech was there as well. In terms of the safety group that you saw, and you are a former safety.
So here's what I will say.
Right.
And one thing, maybe some confirmation bias. Though I will say this much: Godwin Ibuike seemed to me like the most physically talented of the group. And I know he has he's asked to do a lot in the defense in which he plays. So I know he can understand what to do in an NFL defense. I think he has the best chance to be drafted, and I think he will probably be drafted maybe even early day 3. And once again, I think he'll stay. Natrell Jamerson to me was the most revelation. The guy that I was the lowest on, who I came away liking the most, was Jamerson. Each rep, first of all, very competitive. Another guy who's more than willing to open his mouth, as I saw. And he's one of the guys that you mentioned that bullied. He bullied your guy Jordan Thomas a couple times, despite the fact that he's 6 or so inches shorter. And about
70 pounds less.
60, 70 pounds. So he's clearly not afraid to mix it up.
No.
So I like him. I think he's going to stick on a team. And once again, worst case scenario, special teams guy. Backup safety. But I think he has a shot to be a starter.
Right.
The other safeties, I'm not quite as sold on. Laguda looks like a guy that may fight to make a roster, but not a guarantee to stick on a team. As you mentioned with Cooper, I don't think if he was out there, I'd missed him.
Right.
Cole Reyes is another guy I think could be a special teams player. Looks like he doesn't have quite enough quickness. I would not like him covering slot receivers or even some of the more athletic tight ends. So So I worry. I'll be honest. I think he's going to run like 4.74.
Right.
So special teams or bust, kind of for him.
Okay. Getting into the linebacker group. Now, I'm going to say this much about the linebacker group here. They had Leon Jacobs from Wisconsin. They had Javon Roland-Jones from Arkansas State, who really was more of a pass rusher anyways.
Yes.
It's just that he was undersized, so they just stuck him with the linebackers.
Which is what they do, yes.
Right, I know. I don't want to get it. And then, of course, they have Kenny Young from UCLA.
Yes. Who's active.
I like Kenny Young. I think he's decent. Joe Laney.
Quarterback turned bike linebacker.
From Iowa State. And then Tigray Scales from Indiana.
Yep.
Out of all the linebackers, just going through the drills, going through the motions, just going through warm-ups and stuff like that, Tigray Scales was easily...
fluid. Fast and
easily
fluid.
the fastest, easily the most fluid, easily the best hitter, easily, just that guy, as Al Davis would put it, when they're running next to you or moving next to you, you're like, you felt that, didn't you? You felt it, didn't you? Yeah, that's speed right there. That was T. Gray Scales.
Mm-hmm.
That was T. Gray Scales.
He's faster than all but probably maybe one of the safeties. Mm-hmm. Like it's funny how that works. He's when I think about the way the linebacker position is trending in the NFL, he's timed it well in terms of when he was born.
Yes.
People would have been less sold on him 30 years ago, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
That would have been some concerns. But he fits what you want now. When there's only 2 linebackers on the field, more and more, and one of those guys has to really be able to run because you've only got 2 linebackers. That's a lot of field for 2 dudes to cover.
Very much so.
He's going to be able to do that. If you have to have him stay with Kareem Hunt on a wheel route, he can do it. So you feel okay. There's some guys where you're terrified of that situation. He can actually do it.
Yep.
He's probably just about as good an athlete as Kareem Hunt.
And honestly, out of all the players here, just out of all the Shrine Game players for the most part, I think he's probably the guy that might get drafted the highest.
Yep.
Out of all the guys here.
He has a shot at it. He has a shot at it. Yeah. Crabtree. There's a few guys who I think are in conversation to be the first guy.
Right. Crabtree and Scales. Yeah.
Now we'll probably hate this, but it'll probably be Chad Thomas though. I hope that's not what happened. But it could.
It could. It definitely could. I hope not.
I hope not.
I really hope not.
I know.
In terms of the other linebackers that were there, I'm going to be complete. Most of the guys going through motion, even Kenny Young, not that impressive as movers and shakers. I think, in particular with Joel Lanning, who's linebacker / quarterback. I think one of the scouts that was talking was saying that we should move to quarterback, not the best movement skills out of the group, of course. But Javon Roland-Jones, as an edge guy, even moves did very decent. But again, I'm viewing him more as a Sam linebacker guy.
But unlike say Marcus Martin, who looked almost like the linebacker drills hurt him.
Right.
Javon Roland-Jones
looked okay. He could hold his own. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
He didn't embarrass himself or look like a fish out of water in the linebacker drills.
Exactly.
He may have looked unpolished or unfamiliar, but he didn't look lost. He didn't look like he had no business out there playing linebacker. He looks like he's going to, with some additional work at linebacker stuff, look like a linebacker.
Yep. Pretty much. Any other thoughts on the linebacker group?
Well, I was hoping to like Kenny Young more than I did, for lack of a way of putting it.
Okay.
And I'll have to go back and revisit him. And, Joe Ostman is listed with the defensive linemen, but 3-4 teams are going to want to see him do linebacker stuff, too.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's sort of like what we had with Jordan Thomas, where he's listed as a wide receiver, and everyone's going to want to see him do tight end things. Yeah. Ostman is listed as a defensive end, but a lot of teams, maybe not every team, but probably 12 teams will want to see him do linebacker.
Exactly.
So, in my mind, I sort of lumped him in with with the linebackers. But yes, he's not listed as one. Leon Jacobs is a guy I thought I also might like more than I did, and I don't know if it's just not the things he's good at, not being things you can show in this kind of situation.
Right.
If a guy is sort of an old school 3 yards away from the line of scrimmage linebacker, All-Star game practices aren't really your friend.
No,
so
they're not.
So maybe
they're not.
That's why I do actually watch the game. Maybe in the game I'll see him stone a guard, slip off him, and make a tackle for loss or something. We go. That's the guy I wanted to see, because you can't really show that so much in Shrine Game practice.
Not really. Even though they put a lot of weight into it, but yeah, a lot of weight gets put into some of these practices. So getting to the defensive line or the defensive tackle group, and I like this group of
Solid
guys.
Group. Yep.
Poona Ford from Texas did an interview with him, which of course is on the channel as well. PJ Hall from Sam Houston State, another guy that was also pretty impressive. Blau Nichols from Delaware also did his thing. The only guy that I didn't like, Looney.
Yeah,
because
he's pregnant.
Well,
you know what I mean. You saw his body, right?
Yeah. I don't think it's his body per se.
Right, not his body per se, but
he was one of the guys that was not really going, like it felt like he wasn't going full speed.
Right.
It's just every time he would hit a bag, there wasn't a lot of pop to it. There wasn't a lot of.
He's not very. He looks like a guy who hasn't really lifted weights.
No,
that's what it looks like.
No.
And so I'm kidding about his stomach, but
Right.
he's not a guy who's broad-bodied. He's got kind of a thinnish frame.
Right.
He instead of looking like a 290-pound guy who's a 290-pound guy, he looks like a 250-pound guy who let himself go.
Exactly.
And showed strength or lack thereof like a 250-pound guy who let himself go. So I was a little bit worried about that. I'm not a guy that expects every guy to be ripped up or whatever, but he's soft.
Yeah.
And without being big.
Right.
Like, he's not a big frame soft guy. He's a kind of narrow frame soft defensive tackle. That's almost never a good thing.
No. But he was just not, I mean, to me, it was just not, from first practice to second practice to third practice, going through team drills, movement skills wise, just nothing was saying, hey, draft me, hey, just there wasn't a lot going on there.
Watch more tape of me.
Exactly. Now, the other guys, Puna Ford, he was doing a lot of different things here and there. He definitely is kind of I don't want to say undersized because there's definitely a lot of defensive tackles that are shorter that can get the job done, but he doesn't quite have the movement skills. Like, he's not Aaron Donald. He's not, he's not Geno Atkins. No. He's not that guy. No. But he could be like a Will Sutton. He could be, that sort of, type. Or what was the other Bears that did all the bench reps?
Yeah, Stephen Paillet.
Paillet. He could be like a like a Stephen Paillet type. Defensive tackle.
Yeah, I think P.J. Hall's a little closer to Paillet.
Yeah.
But, it's funny because Puna Ford gets a fair amount of love.
Well, both did the same thing.
But they're the same guy.
Did the same thing. Puna Ford did the same thing. But Puna Ford has a better name. Puna Ford is funnier.
He is funny.
He's funnier. Puna Ford also went to Texas.
Yes.
And the other guy went to Sam Houston State.
Right. I get it. But when you watch them side by side,
there's not much difference.
There's very little difference.
They look the same size. They play the same. Most of their reps were pretty much the
Hall's
same.
Slightly bigger, and I think he might be slightly stronger. No, it's close. It's close. Or, you know what? Let me rephrase that. I think Puna's got the stronger lower body. I think Hall's the stronger upper body.
Upper body.
That's probably what I should have said. Hall showed me a little bit more power in his hands. Puna showed me that anchor thing where, almost impossible to move when, even though he's not a very big D tackle. Right. And I'll throw out Nichols as well. He had some good reps, and he's got some length. That once again, some people will wonder if he can do the 5 technique thing.
But this is my thing, honestly, on Nichols. I'm not really going out on a limb here because whatever. But my two favorite D tackles here at the Shrine Game, with Fatukasi, to me was one.
That's my guy too.
And the other guy was Nichols, because from day 1 practice to day 2 practice, he was constantly making a play. He was constantly getting a knockback. He was constantly he was just doing the things he needed to do to get to the quarterback, get to the running back, make a play. And even if he didn't make a play, you felt he was there.
You felt his presence.
Yeah,
he was present.
Yeah.
Here's what I will say about, and I've been a fan of his since I found him when Gabe Sherrod transferred. So I've been watching Gabe Sherrod at Delaware State, and they played each other once. They used to not play each other. For years, they didn't play each other. Delaware and Delaware State went, and it was a controversial thing. My mom's from Delaware. So I know sort of the politics, or whatever term.
Right.
But for years, they didn't play each other. And Delaware State desperately wanted to play Delaware. And Delaware, I won't say they were ducking them necessarily, but they just refused to schedule them. And so finally, a couple of years ago, for the first time in maybe ever, certainly for the first time in a long time, but the first time, certainly in my lifetime, I'll put it that way, they played each other. And Gabe Sherrod was a guy that I already knew about at Delaware State. And obviously, Delaware is a program I've paid a fair much into as well. And as we both agreed, he's not quite Zach Kerr, who is really moved really well for his size and was ridiculously powerful.
Yes.
He's not that.
No, he's not that.
He's both smaller and less powerful and less quick. So you can't be quite as excited about him.
Right. Yeah.
But once again, he's got enough length, enough strength that somebody will either say, hey, we can put another 30 pounds on you and move you right over the, put the zero technique, or somebody might say, yeah, we'll put 12 pounds on you instead, because you can tell he could get bigger.
Yeah.
Without much trouble. Right. And we'll have you play at the 5.
Yeah.
Which I think he could do fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing he will never be, even as a 5 technique, is a great pass rusher.
No. I mean, I don't expect that either. Yeah.
The only one of these guys who I think has real pass rush potential, well, Puna to some extent, but I think PJ Hall, because his hand usage and upper body strength and get off. I mean, he's got good, not great get off, but enough get off. I don't mean great pass rusher like Ndamukong Suh. I don't mean because that guy isn't to be found.
No.
Or even Booger McFarland or Warren Sapp isn't to be found in this group of dudes. But or even Casey Hampton.
No.
I'm talking more like, well, you mentioned Will Sutton.
Grady Jarrett.
There we go.
Ish. Right.
He's got a lot of Grady Jarrett's qualities. Not quite that get off, though. Not quite.
Sure.
Because nobody in this whole class is as quick as Grady Jarrett.
No.
Amongst the tackles. I wish.
Yeah, right.
But yes, there's another guy I was trying to think of who had good but not amazing get off, but had that great hand usage. Like he understands how to move people into or out of situations that allow him to get. I mean, the guy he holds, I think, the record for FCS football ever in tackles for loss, if I remember correctly. I mean, just a machine when it comes to that. And he showed that he could still do it against a quote-unquote higher level competition.
Right.
He and Puna, to me, are kind of the same guy. I mean, not the same guy fully, but I mean,
right.
in terms of what I think they can accomplish, though they'll do it differently. Puna is tremendously powerful from hips down, ludicrously strong from hips down, a squat guy. And I get the feeling that PJ is a power clean guy.
Right.
A guy who can jerk people into or out of his way as he needs, or even kind of slam people together for him to get into the backfield. Now, most of the time that's been to tackle running backs, but I truly believe you could use those same skills to tackle some quarterbacks with some additional, keep getting stronger, and but also some additional just polish, showing him how to. You know how to do this. Here's how you do this to get to Matt Ryan, as opposed to just simply snatch up a running back who's trying to make it through a hole.
And getting into the pass rusher group, and we'll add Javon Roland-Jones to this too. We'll lump him because he was getting reps there, and he looked pretty well doing it too.
Well, he's the most polished pass rusher of the guys in this roster.
Out of this group, out of the West group. When it comes to, Marcel Frazier from Missouri. He definitely showed a couple things here and there. Alec James from Wisconsin didn't really stick out, at least to me, didn't really stick out that much.
He's not very twitchy.
No. Justin Lawler from SMU
at least has some quickness.
Has some quickness, a little bit more skills to him. A couple tricks in the bag.
He has a plan B.
Right.
Maybe not a plan C.
Right.
But he at least has a plan B.
He does have a plan B. And then, of course, you have Joe Osman from Central Michigan.
Yep.
He was the one. He wasn't it wasn't a Trey Hendrickson level.
He's not that level
performance.
Athlete. Yeah.
But if you're talking about a guy who did sort of what Trey Hendrickson did, which was to get on the map of people and like people going, this guy, changing people's minds a bit on him. He definitely was the guy who did that the most and was probably one of the more impressive, pass rushers. One of the more.
He reminds me of the old Central Florida guy, Bruce Miller, who unfortunately got moved to fullback.
Right.
My hope is that will not happen to him. But here's what he showed me.
Right.
Really good hand usage. He really understands how to disengage. He understands how to create advantages. He can do push-pull stuff.
Right.
He has a decent swim move. He even threw a spin out there.
Yes.
He would throw a spin move out there. It's like, you go, Joe Austin. So it's not as fluid or as impressive as when Javon Roland-Jones does a lot of those. You could put together a reel, each doing the exact same thing, and you're going to say, well, I like it better when he does it. Right. Just because, once again, the quickness and the compactness of motion for Javon Roland-Jones is just a notch higher. But Osman, because of his power and use of leverage, is going to manage to do some of the same things. It just won't be as pretty.
Exactly. Marcel Frazier, my only issue with Marcel Frazier is he looked a little tight in the hips.
Yep.
You know, he's a tall guy. He has a
leggy.
Leggy.
Tall and leggy.
Leggy. Has a pretty solid frame too,
Mm-hmm.
but doesn't quite get low enough at times or maintain that that dip, that leverage that you want out of a guy like that. And he'll definitely show you flashes occasionally where he's going around the corner, he's doing that thing.
Right.
But there were a lot of times where he just was not getting low enough at times.
Really good tackles will be able to readjust on him in a way they can't with the guys that can, the old joke about running, sprinting under the dinner table.
Right.
He can't do that. He doesn't have that level of bend.
No.
So he'll need to either develop some really good counter moves so that once he gets a guy leaning this way, he can move back inside because he can't just beat you with speed to the outside if you're at least reasonably athletic. And he's not super powerful yet. I would like to see him get stronger and more polished because he's unlikely to become that much more flexible and quick. That's harder to accomplish. It's easier to become more accomplished with moves and stronger.
Yes.
That's probably more likely to happen.
Yes. So yeah, he was kind of like that, and again, Javon Rolling-Jones, out of all the guys here, he was most impressive just in terms of athletic ability, and
he's the one that could become Roosevelt Colvin, or I mean, he's that guy that could become your designated pass rusher. He's a guy who could become, and could he play linebacker almost like a real linebacker if he really wanted to do that? Probably. It'd be probably a bit of a waste.
Yeah.
But if you're a 4-3 team and you wanted to play Sam Backer for you,
he could do that.
He could do that.
And pass rush, third downs.
Right. A poor man's and smaller man's Farr, right? A little Anthony Farr, smaller and not quite as explosively athletic.
Right.
But really has a good understanding of how to get skinny, really has a good understanding of when a guy is a little off balance and how to take him all the way off balance. Yep. So I think he'll be drafted once again day 3. I think Osman, the ones that I'm pretty sure will be, and Frazier will probably be drafted earlier than he should be.
Yes.
Once again, looks the part.
Yes.
Frustrating as that is. But he might, once again, you and I might be somewhere cursing when the two, edge guys that are first off the board are Chad Thomas on one team and Marcel Frazier on the other. But the guys who I would take first off of this team of the quote unquote edge group are Rolling-Jones and Osman. And Frazier would be the third for me.
Yes.
And Lawler maybe soon after that. Lawler has some potential, but doesn't seem to really know what he's doing.
No, he does. He's one of those guys that he has a plan A and plan B, but he's not playing chess, he's playing checkers.
He's playing checkers, and sometimes he's using plan B where plan A would still work.
Yes.
And sometimes the reverse is true.
Right.
He's
one of those pass, and we always run into these guys. Because that's the thing about pass rushers is you have some pass rushers that are going through the motions. Like, this time I'm going to try this move. So like a position coach came up to him and said, I want you to do a spin move here. Get him on the spin move. And then they do the spin move. But they're not using the spin move because they saw something in the tackle on film that they could set him up a little bit.
So that later when I throw that fake spin thing, I could,
Or they don't have situational awareness either where it's like 3rd and 2 where it's going to be a quick pass. It's going to be a boom and out ball at your hand. And they use that spin move, and the ball's already out, and they basically wasted that spin move because now the offensive tackle seen it, and he goes, okay, you're going to start doing spin moves on
I'm ready for it now. And so later when it's 3rd and 11, and you try to bust it out again.
They've already seen it.
And he counters it.
He counters it, and you're done. You're done.
He's if you had him moving like Javon Rolling-Jones with Javon Rolling-Jones repertoire, now you've got a day 2 pass rusher. Yes. But we don't really have a surefire day 2 pass rusher amongst these guys. We've got a couple of day 3 guys, and in the right situation, I think they could both be good players, probably as sort of rotational guys, unless, like I said, you want to make Javon Rolling-Jones a full-time linebacker. I think he could do it. It just wouldn't be the maximization of his talents.
Right. Okay. Now we get into the cornerback group, which was by far the most chatty chatty of groups
Yes.
out of all of them.
They had a lot to say.
A lot to say. Of course, they had Dane, Kirkshank.
Yes, made to order cover 2, Peanut Tillman-esque.
Right. From Arizona.
From Arizona.
Yeah. You had Heath Harding from Miami, Ohio.
Right.
Devontae Harris from Illinois State.
Yep.
Josh Kalu from Nebraska. Malik Reeves from Villanova. And Lyndon Stevens, from Cincinnati. In terms of the cornerback group, now with me, Cruikshank really liked what I saw from him.
Yep.
Devontae Harris liked a decent amount of what I saw from him. Kalu made some plays as well, especially against Jordan Thomas. There were a couple times he lined up with him and kind of made fun of him a little bit. Lyndon Stevens looked fast, or at least he had
right. I know what you're saying.
Had some speed to him.
Yes.
But what are your thoughts on the cornerback group?
This was, to some extent, the strength of the defense in terms of every single one of the guys that lined up at corner has at least a legitimate chance to make an NFL team.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. I think 2 or 3 of them will be drafted, particularly by teams that play zone. There's not a lot of classic man press corner types out here. But if you're you could do a lot worse if you're a cover 3 or cover 2 zone team. Dane Cruikshank, for those people that really want your classic chuck the living daylights out of you within the legal contact and then sort of bump you a little bit, hopefully legally, further down the field. And then when the ball's in the air, look and lean, reach up. I mean, he can do all that stuff. He's got really good technique. Smart guy. I saw him getting the other guys when he would spot something and try to tell them things and try to get his teammates lined up in the right position. Almost, once again, I hate to say it when, big corner to safety thing, but he's a guy who could, it's another thing that it's laziness, but he's a guy I think could actually do it.
Yes. And
would actually do well.
Yes.
If he were asked to play some safety.
Yes.
Next is Devontae Harris, a small school guy, a guy I already really was a big fan of. And once again, this is the thing I hate, but I think there's teams that are going to ask him to play safety. Or at least ask him to take some reps at safety, and I think he'd actually hold up. Very good tackler, has been good against the run. He's in the Missouri Valley Conference, where he's seen some really good running teams and has done really well at showing he can do all the run support things you're ever going to ask a zone corner to do, because zone corners are incredibly important in your run defense.
Very much so.
If you have poor tackling zone corners, teams are going to...
It's terrible. The one thing about the Seahawks, and this is the big thing, very underrated about the Seahawks defenses. When everybody talks about the Seahawks defense, they talk about the length, they talk about the safeties and all that kind of stuff.
Tackling.
What are they really doing? Tackling. Screen passes, no fly zone.
Right.
Really, no run zone.
No run zone. Bobby Wagner's the best tackling linebacker in football. Right, at least for them right now.
Yep.
All of their corners are really good tacklers.
Really great tacklers.
Their
really
backup corners are really good tacklers.
Really good tacklers.
Their safeties are really good tacklers.
Run sport.
Yep. Nothing but good tacklers.
Yep.
Moving through the rest of them. Kalu is a guy that I'm kind of afraid he's going to run a really slow 40.
Right.
Now, I could be wrong. And I hope to be wrong, but he looks like a guy's going to run in the mid 4.6s.
Okay.
So once again, there'll be the is he a safety conversation. So that's the one thing I've noticed about this group is I think a lot of these guys will be asked at least to take a shot at playing safety. But I think many of them could play zone corner. And who am I forgetting again? My corners. Malik Reeves. So Malik Reeves is another guy that I came in here wanting to like and had liked on tape, and I didn't see him do much here. So that may not have been his fault. I may have just missed when he was doing stuff. Maybe he did stuff earlier and I wasn't here.
Right.
But he was the only corner where I certainly liked him on tape, but I didn't see him do something here that either further confirmed or elevated what I thought about him. He's the only one where I sort of came away with like a question mark. But all the others... Oh, Heath Harding, thank you. Yeah. Heath Harding is the one of this group that is probably going to be asked to, instead of play corner or safety, probably asked to play nickel.
Yeah.
Quick feet, not super fast, but a good tackler. He'll tackle you. He'll get you to the ground. Good ball skills. Oh, and then Chucky was as a safety.
Lyndon Stevens.
Thank you. That's the other one I was trying to remember. Thank you. There's another one.
Yeah.
Lyndon Stevens is a guy I saw a few of his reps going against Boyd. And Devontae Boyd, I won't say had his way with him.
Right.
But Boyd got separation consistently.
Right.
When he faced him, which may just mean that he doesn't have awesome hips and feet.
Right.
That's what I noticed. Lyndon Stevens, once again, wasn't afraid to get physical. Mixed it up with guys.
Right.
And once again, we'll come down into. I mean, these are a bunch of zone corners, and one nickel. But it was a bunch of zone corners and one nickel is what I saw. And I think they're all going to play. I think every single one of them is going to play somewhere in the NFL.
Yeah. Definitely. So, all right. So we went through all the rosters. We went through all that kind of stuff.
We didn't talk about the specialists on this side. But.
Oh, well. We can talk. All right. Let's talk about them real quick. So, yeah. Matthew McCrane from Kansas State was the kicker for the West.
Really good soccer background.
Right.
Quick. Not super strong.
Right.
But accurate.
Okay.
And
then they also had Shane Trapuka.
Shane Trapuka, another big guy.
Texas A&M.
Yeah, another big kid.
Yeah.
If you didn't know better, you think he was a strong safety. Struggled mightily with directional kicking, which I once again broken record. But either he'd never done it before, or at least he looked like he'd never done it before. Because every time he was asked to take it left or take it right, it was shank time.
Right.
He seemed to struggle also with. So the times they asked him also to not pooch exactly, but can you take it up and make sure there's no. He would overdo that. Like it would end up being 22 yards down the field, so 32 yards or 42 yards down the field. So he doesn't seem to have a lot of adjustment ability.
Right.
Like when you ask him to do something slightly different than everything he's ever done before, he seems to struggle to execute that.
Right. And then, of course, Drew Scott, the
awesome long snapper. He actually was the best of the specialists, in my opinion, if that's what you're into. But he seemed to have good accuracy. The ball seemed to come out quickly, tight spiral, and he's a little undersized. I mean, the other guy was getting too big. This guy's weighs 210. You usually want him to be like 220 to 240 is sort of ideal for a long snapper. He may want to put on 10 pounds. I mean, that was part of Nate Boyer's problem. He was 5'11 and 208. That's a little smaller than even they want from, they want you to be 6'1", 6'2". Does it matter a lot? Not really. Right. But if you're asking people to give you the ideals, the prototypes, it's 6'1", 6'2", 220, 240, in that range. And yeah, I mean, speed's not incredibly important, but you want to be a sub-5 flat guy. I mean, you don't want to be the last guy down. You want to be able to get in your lane. And once again, if things go wrong, if you do have to, run at an angle, hopefully take the right angle and hopefully prevent a touchdown, you don't want to be hopelessly, no chance of you being able to make the play because you're just such a poor athlete.
Right.
But he seemed to be a pretty decent athlete from what I saw.
And I know it's a cliche.
It is
part of the show. It's always a cliche part. Who made the most money? Whose stock went up?
Yes.
In my opinion, which I do have a lot of opinions,
yes.
But if I was gonna say I'll limit it to 5.
Yeah,
it's a 5.
5's a good number.
5 guy.
Yep.
Brian Allen, Michigan State.
Agreed.
Definitely. The guy did that. Fountain.
Yeah, I think he made the most money of everybody. Yep.
T. Gray Scales.
Yep, agree.
And then, of course, Zach Crabtree.
Agreed.
The 4th, and the 5th for me, which is tough, but I would say the 5th. I don't know if I want to add in the call up because Puna Ford is going to the Senior Bowl. So
yes,
but I wouldn't necessarily say that. I wouldn't put him in in the top 5 with the defensive tackles there. I wouldn't put him in the top 3 though. Gotcha. Just based on how I saw him do. But I would say probably 5 would be Osman.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So I mean, those would be, and there's definitely guys I'm leaving out like Kirkshank and
and Bilal Nichols and but who help themselves.
Like that. Yeah.
But I
those
agree.
Those would be the ones that I would think would get, drafted relatively. I mean, a lot of those like T. Gray Scales and Crabtree, those are guys that I just have a good feeling they're going to go day 2, unless they mess up the combine and they just do something crazy.
Right.
I can't see them not going at least round 2 or round 3.
Right. There's a couple of guys with a legitimate shot at day 2.
Yeah.
Several guys with a shot at day 3, obviously. But the thing about Osman was everybody was worried that it was, somehow he was doing it with mirrors, right? That's always, whenever I'll just say it, white pass rusher with short arms, Bruce Miller, right? I mean, these guys that get moved to fullback.
Right.
But whenever a white pass rusher with short arms puts up great production, there's always this, is he doing it with mirrors?
What's he doing?
Does he have ninja smoke bombs that he
Right,
throws
right.
down? And then, I mean, I always, but I mean, like, what do people think they're, whatever. But
Right.
there's always these huge question marks.
Right.
How is he doing
How
it?
is he doing?
How is he doing
What
it?
is he doing?
Right.
Yeah.
But I think he proved to people that he's a better athlete than they thought.
Right.
Even though he's not an elite athlete, he
Right.
showed he's a better athlete than they thought. He showed a really nicely balanced array of pass rush moves that he knows when and how to use.
Right.
And for those that wanted to see some linebacker movement stuff, he didn't look amazing.
Right.
But he, once again, he didn't look painful.
Look competent.
He looked competent. That's the word I'm
Yes.
looking for. When asked to do things, to drop a little bit, when asked to go through some change direction skills, he was competent. I mean, he did linebacker skills. So I think that helped. As you said, Puna gets the call up for whatever reason. So he's obviously going to make money, but I'm going to use, like I said, I think Nichols is the guy I'm going to go with as sort of my fifth spot, and then agree with you on everybody else. But yeah, I think Nichols is the guy, once again, level competition, blah, blah, blah. So there's always these questions, once again, they don't think he's doing it with mirrors. I think he's doing it against a bunch of paperweights. So once he shows he's doing it against actual football players, now someone says, okay, we're going to spend a draft pick on him. Now we won't just wait for him to fall to us as an undrafted free agent. He goes from being a guy that teams have, like I said, they're going to say, draft's over, let's call Bilal Nichols, to a guy that maybe they spend a 6th or 7th on. Okay. I think that Osman has gone from a guy that they would have spent a 6th or a 7th on to a guy they'd spend a 4th or a 5th on.
Right.
I think that, as you said, Crabtree solidified himself as a guy who should go in the top 100, especially in a class where tackles are going to be very hard to come by.
They can play tackle. Definitely.
Tigray Scales is a guy that thinks solidified himself in the top 150 or so selections as well.
Okay.
And Doris Fountain went from a guy that some teams had as an undrafted free agent.
Right, and now he might actually get drafted.
I think there's no chance he does not get drafted.
Right.
It would take some really bad thing happening for him to go undrafted.
Right.
I think that there will teams that would consider him now in the 5th because they should.
Right.
Because he's that good.
Right.
There's not a huge difference between him and some of these guys that people have in their top 50.
Exactly.
But he went to UNI. I get it.
Right. Exactly. So, I guess last thing before we wrap everything up, and this is where we start the hater section of the show.
Yes.
The player hater section of the show.
Yeah.
Biggest losers for me.
Oh yeah.
And I'll just name two because I'm not gonna go because there wasn't that many like losers per se. But I would definitely say Riley Ferguson.
Ding ding ding. Yep.
Was a big loser.
Yep.
Just because it just wasn't really that impressive. Was had the weight issues as well.
Yeah.
Had a bunch of different things that kind of were kind of like that. And then the other guy would be James Looney from California. To me, there was just nothing. He just didn't really look like he belonged here.
Yeah.
Is really what it looked like to me.
Yeah. Agreed. I'm going to double down on what you just said about Ferguson. His arm wasn't as strong as what I'd seen on tape for some reason. Maybe it's because he somehow shrunk down to 196 pounds. There were some things there that I thought I was going to see. I'm going to throw my second guy is going to be Jake Weineke. Now, I assume that people have already made their decisions about what they think about him, but But here's a guy that's supposed to be the best wide receiver here.
Really?
That's what people were telling me.
Really?
Just so you know.
Really?
That's what people were saying. That this is going to be one of those things where he's going to, open people's eyes to him. Here's this guy from South Dakota State is going to show everyone from every place else that I'm the best receiver here.
Right.
Remove all doubt.
Right. He didn't really do that.
No, quite the opposite.
Yeah.
So he's created more doubts. Now I'm going to go back looking at his tape, but not in the way that you want me going back looking at your tape. Now I'm going back looking at your tape, trying to see if maybe I was too high on you.
Wrong,
Yeah. So that's the guy I would circle. Like, there were people, and once again, I'm part of a very small community within a small community that really pay a lot of attention to guys from FCS and down have a legitimate chance to play in the NFL.
Right.
So I've seen a fair amount of him, and he looked way less explosive than the tight end than Goddard. He looked, and he was one of the least explosive. Well, once again, maybe he wasn't trying or whatever, but scares me too. But he was the least explosive wide receiver here, not named Jordan Thomas, who might be an offensive tackle or at least a tight end.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was the Shrine Game practice, at least in terms of the West Coast, which of course is the best coast. And of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics.
And you can find me, well, all over Twitter. I have a couple of Twitter feeds. So for the New Jacks, for the people that really go crazy for that New Jack swing, you can find my capital B, capital C, A, double R, O, double L, 138 Twitter handle. And then for those that like to get smooth and maybe kick back with a little yak, you can go to the at 11 Bravo. That's the word ELEVEN BRAVO 138 Twitter handle. And that's where I've been kicking out all of my Shrine Game content. And I'll be putting together yet another thing with some of the other guys who are here in Mobile. Not Mobile.
Right.
Here in St. Pete.
St. Petersburg,
to talk about some of the things we talked about here, but maybe with a slightly different focus. And for me, and the Shrine Game is actually one of my favorites, as I mentioned before, because it's sort of that in-between. When you go to some of the ones that are sort of quote-unquote beneath this one, you know that you're seeing guys with sometimes a very, very slim chance to make an NFL roster.
Right.
And I love the NFLPA and the late lamented Medal of Honor, which I miss. I wish somebody would somehow find a way to bring it back.
Yeah.
And, Texas versus the Nation, which was a cool idea, and then they kind of got away from it and whatever. The College Gridiron Showcase is actually interesting at times, but it's guys who are probably headed to Canada for the most part, and Arena. The Dream Bowl and HBCU Bowl, Senior Bowls are both kind of, once again, mostly guys headed to Canada, with maybe one or two or three guys with a real shot to make an NFL roster. Here, more than half the guys here have a legitimate shot to make an NFL roster. There's a good 10 or so guys with a chance to be starters in the league. And then there's some guys who, as you said, maybe they don't even belong here. But, and when you get to the Senior Bowl, everybody has the seal of approval when you get to the Senior Bowl. And you have to kind of screw it up if you don't want to be drafted, if you're at the Senior Bowl. If you don't get drafted and you're at the Senior Bowl, you did something wrong.
Exactly. It's like a mail-order bride situation at the Senior Bowl.
Yes.
Like, you just don't have to mess it up. Just smile and wave and be nice, and
and you're probably going to be drafted. So this is where I think guys have the most ability to impact how they're viewed.
Right.
Because a guy can go from a guy that teams didn't have on their board at all, and to a guy that they're seriously considering early day 3. I think a couple of guys did that for themselves here. And you can go from a guy that teams were considering early day 3 to a guy that they take all the way off their board. So I think the most ability to change your perception for guys who are middling prospects is definitely here.
Right. And of course, this was Bill Carroll. We will be talking again about the Senior Bowl, so that's going to be another video that's going to come out probably a day after this video, somewhere around there.
Probably.
And of course, if you like this content and you want more content like this,
You have to.
Please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know, whether your mama, your sister, your brother, anybody that likes football content, anybody that likes anything.
The guy who serves you froyo.
Yes, the guy who serves you froyo. Let them know about the Common Man Football Show. And of course, hit that notification button, because if you want to be reminded when another video of mine drops, the only way that you can get that notification is if you actually hit that notification button. And of course, we will talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.